On today's primetime local news. The prices of oil plunged today amid fears of COVID-19. Hear what the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers had to say about that.
I'm sure people are sitting around wondering what all of this means for them and their companies.
Local tow truck companies are reminding drivers to slow down and move over as part of their awareness campaign in the border city.
People seem to slow down a lot more for those emergency services, but for the tow trucks, they just go roaring by us.
An Open City Women in Business event brought women from all sectors together to celebrate their success today as part of International Women's Day. Plus, a bike relay raising funds for a great cause has schools across the Lloydminster Public School Division cycling virtually across Canada.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Local tow truck companies are reminding drivers to slow down and move over as part of their awareness campaign. Their campaign is a reminder for drivers that it's the law to slow down to 60 kilometers an hour and move over when passing emergency vehicles, including tow trucks.
People seem to slow down a lot more for those emergency services, but for the tow trucks, they just go roaring by us. They don't move over, they don't slow down, and it really puts our lives in danger.
The awareness campaign was started after Courtney Schaefer, a tow truck operator in Saskatchewan, was killed while responding to an accident. Bonet says that on Highway 16, he sees a lot of vehicles not following the law when out on the job.
Seems like everybody that's driving down the four-laner is going so fast, they feel they've got the right to just go whizzing by us at full highway speed. And on the smaller roads, people seem to slow down more because they got to slow down to get by us. But on the big road, like Highway 16, it's really dangerous.
The campaign will take place this Wednesday from 7 p.m. until 8. Many tow truck drivers and emergency vehicles will be parked on both sides of the border. The public is also welcome to attend. The price of oil plundered today amid fears surrounding COVID-19 and a price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. A representative from the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers was in the border city today, and our Jace Mackey has his reaction.
Chris Montgomery of the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers came to give a presentation to the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce. The tone and message had to change somewhat as the price of oil dropped around 30% Monday morning.
We've had a convergence of two things. First, drop in oil demand, primarily because of coronavirus and things happening, particularly in China, but as economic worry spreads. And then we've entered this weekend into a price war between the Saudis and the Russians over some disagreements on what they should be producing. So the market's kind of getting hit both on supply and demand side right now.
This is the biggest single-day drop since the Gulf War in 1991, but it's too early to know how Lloydminster will be impacted.
A bit early to know what exactly those impacts will be locally or in Calgary, but obviously producers are having to take a second look at their spending plans and what that looks like for the year. So we're in for another period of uncertainty, unfortunately.
Montgomery also touched on the need for coastal pipelines, a topic that continues to cause concern among oil and gas producers.
Making sure that those pipelines that are on the books get built so that we can deliver additional product to markets.
In Saskatchewan, one big issue CAP is hoping to address is the cost of municipal fees and taxes.
In Saskatchewan, in large parts of the province, it's the #1 operating cost for producers, and so we have some concerns there about the impacts that they have on our members' ability to continue to produce and operate in those rural municipalities.
While there is a lot of concern and uncertainty surrounding the markets, producers like Husky will have to wait and see exactly what this means for them.
I'm sure people are sitting around wondering what all of this means for them and their companies as well, much like, in Calgary, the economic reality is hitting, but, people have to digest it and figure out what it means for them.
Jace Mackey, Primetime Local News.
It was a day that brought businesswomen together for conversation and networking while celebrating their success. Open City Women in Business took place today, and our reporter Shelby Clark has more from this inspiring event.
This is the sound of businesswomen networking and sharing their knowledge with one another.
We have many women from different demographics, different businesses, some people who work for others, and I just think it's an opportunity to get to know each other better and to find out sort of what drives us and moves us forward.
Startup Lloydminster believes celebrating women in business is important, especially in honor of International Women's Day. Since last year, the Open City event has expanded with even including a luncheon for the guests.
There's not enough women in business, I find, and so it's just great to see a room that's been sold out with that need, that desire, that passion. So it's wonderful when we can all come together and collaborate and support each other.
The schedule started with networking, where all the guests could introduce each other and have a discussion around different questions. Next on the agenda was a fishbowl discussion, where a panel of women could have the audience come in and out of the conversation. Then last but not least, attendees were able to meet with industry professionals and talk business ideas.
Yeah, it's our second time doing it. We initially founded it last year. It was a quick turnaround, and so this one we've built it a little bit more structured, and between Red Bicycle and Startup Lloydminster, then we also added in community features this year.
After a successful event, they believe celebrating women in business is essential in Lloydminster.
And we know that in Canada, even though female is the major of our population, they're really low numbers when we take a look at entrepreneurship. And so we're really wanting to raise the vibration around looking at entrepreneurship as a viable financial option.
Shelby Clark, Primetime Local News.
Schools from the Lloydminster Public School Division are hosting an event called Pedal for a Purpose, which is a virtual cycle relay across Canada to raise funds for a great cause. Our Jasmine King has more.
5 LPSD schools, including Rundle Park and College Park, are participating in the event where students virtually bike across Canada.
I thought that kids would really like biking with some technology enhancement, especially in the winter time, so kind of ahead of the spring season. And with the software that we're using, which is Zwift, there's gamification built in. So all of a sudden you're trying to bike farther and faster than you would normally. And I just thought they would think that's a cool idea.
Not only are the students getting physical activity with their classmates, they're raising money for different charities around Lloydminster. Each school picks one charity they want to represent.
I just thought there might be a good idea to sort of not make kids ride, but want to ride to give back to the community. And so we just incorporated a charity piece in there. The charity that was chosen by Rundle Park is the Border City Connects, so the Handy Van Society. And so I think they're going to put some of the money towards a new handy van.
For the students, they see the biking as a video game, and so far they've all had fun cycling.
It was fun because you can actually bike and you can see how fast you're going, and it's like a virtual world to go through.
You can just see how many people want to do it, and it's so fun to do.
5 schools are participating in this event, but only one school gets the bikes at a time.
The bikes will be in the schools for 2 weeks at a time. They'll ride as far as they can, and then the bikes go on to the next school. And so we have the bikes on all day through the school day, and then open at night for other adults to ride too, teachers, parents, etc. So they can go as far or as fast as they want, and then they'll challenge the next school to do even better.
The event started last week and runs until June. Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
This week's Kinsman Telemiracle was a huge success, bringing in over $5.5 million. Celebrities like Beverly Mahood and Brad Johnner joined the Kinsman and the rest of Saskatchewan for the 2020 Kinsman Telemiracle event. The money raised will help people in Saskatchewan purchase special needs equipment. Kinsman raised over $7 million back in 2018 for the same event. And now a look at your evening weather with our Abby St. John.
Thanks, Judy. It is currently -5 here in Lloydminster. We have been experiencing a very nice, clear and sunny day today and yesterday as well. We'll get a little bit of cloud coverage throughout this evening and then clearing off by tonight, overnight tonight. Winds coming out of the west-southwest at 22 kilometers per hour, making it feel closer to -12 with that wind chill. Across Alberta, -4 out in Cold Lake, +1 in Jasper, Rocky Mountain House, and up in Athabasca, 3 in Edmonton, Edson, and Whitecourt, and -4 out in Red Deer. And on the Saskatchewan side, -8 in Meadow Lake, Prince Albert, and Melfort, -4 in Saskatoon, and -5 in North Battleford. Overnight in North Battleford, the temperature will drop to -17. However, they'll be sitting fairly clear, no real signs of snowfall. Winds coming out of the southwest at 9 kilometers per hour, and then picking up to 15 kilometers per hour coming in from the south tomorrow, with a daytime high of 0 and that mix of sun and cloud, and no high chance of snowfall in North Battleford. In Cold Lake overnight, they'll also be clearing off overnight tonight, with the temperature dropping to -13, and that wind will be coming out of the southwest at 9 kilometers per hour and picking up to 19 kilometers per hour tomorrow, with a daytime high of 0 and a mix of sun and cloud. No real signs of snowfall in Cold Lake either. Here in Lloydminster, will clear up overnight with the temperature dropping to -14, and that wind will be at 17 kilometers per hour coming in from the southwest and picking up to 19 kilometers per hour tomorrow, with the daytime high of -1, which will feel closer to -10 with that wind chill, and a low of -14 and a mix of sun and cloud. And then on Wednesday, a high of +1, which will feel closer to -19 and a low of -4 and a mix of sun and cloud. And then on Thursday, it gets a little bit more cloudy with a high of -7, which will feel closer to -26 with that wind chill, and a low of -11. That is a look at your 3-day forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. In this week's retrospect, our Abby St. John goes back to 1999 to take a look at 2 stories. The first, where healthcare workers took part in a course to gain better information to stop teen smoking. And the second story about pharmacies who were getting ready for a new medication popular in the States to come to Canada for the first time.
Back in 1999, healthcare providers and nurses took a distance education TV course to better their knowledge to help prevent teens from smoking.
There are about a dozen here in Lloydminster and hundreds more across the province of Saskatchewan. The faces in this crowd want better tools to help them fight teen smoking, so they're here at a distance education workshop to take in a live satellite telecast.
So far it's been great, and we're looking for some more strategies to help youth reduce their tobacco consumption and to prevent them from getting started as the afternoon goes along.
To deal with today's topic, teen smoking, Dr. Greg Connolly, director of the Tobacco Control Program in Massachusetts, was on hand. He was in Saskatoon, but the people taking in his speech were just about everywhere else. For today's telecast, 38 remote sites were set up all over the province.
A number of us are health district employees, and we're also public health nurses, so we're in the schools and we do some tobacco education programs in the schools, and we thought this would be a really good way to get some more education to add to those presentations.
Also in 1999, pharmacies in the border city were getting ready to stock their shelves with a new drug that residents had been waiting for a long time.
Local pharmacies are preparing for the famous cure for impotence to stock their shelves. The Zellers Pharmacy in the Lloydminster Mall has been receiving phone calls from customers curious when the prescription drug will be available. Pharmacy manager Rob Ferguson says he spoke with Pfizer, the manufacturer of Viagra, today, and they will start shipping the anti-impotence medication to pharmacies in about 3 weeks.
They expect the medication to be out near the end of March. They expect very good sales to start with. They still aren't quite 100% ready to go. They had to wait till today before the government would give them the approval to package everything up and get it ready to go.
Pfizer estimates as many as 3 million Canadian men suffer from erectile dysfunction, generally caused by diabetes, prostate surgery, and spinal cord injuries. The drug was introduced in the United States a year ago, and many Canadian men crossed the border to buy it. Rob Ferguson says Viagra is a lot easier to use compared to other anti-impotence medications.
For this week's Retrospect, I'm Abby St. John.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
And now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
Welcome back. The Canadian Cattlemen's Association is holding its annual general meeting in Ottawa this week. The meeting brings together directors from provincial member associations to determine policy for the industry. Delegates from will also get the chance to meet and discuss industry issues with ministers, members of parliament, senators, and other key influencers at an annual reception held near Parliament Hill. The association will also vote on new leadership. And now here are your agriculture prices for today.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
A wild weekend of playoff hockey came to a close last night. Our Evan Kenny has more about the weekend and the success of the border city.
Thanks. Round 1 of the Midget AA playoffs is now in the books. The Lloydminster Blazers came out as champions, defeating the Beaumont Braves 4-1 in the finals. Ahead of the tournament, head coach Ryan McDuff said in this format, anybody can win. He also added that teams have to get off to a hot start in order to win. His team did just that. They went 5-0, only allowing 12 goals against.
Honestly, right from the start, we knew we could do it. We talked about the only team that could beat us was us. I feel like we have the most talent and we're the best team, and it's whatever team of our team came out and played, and our top team came out and we showed what we could do.
We came together at the end pretty well. We worked on defense a lot throughout the year, and I guess we just trusted each other and knew everyone would play their role.
It was Reese Light who got the start in the championship game, stopping 41 of 42 shots. Heading into the game, Light had 2 ties in the playoffs and was boasting a save percentage of .928. Even after this performance, Light stayed humble. Huge game there, only allowing 1 goal against. How big was that for you?
Well, it's more important that we got the win than how I did.
In the regular season, Beaumont seemed to be the Blazers' kryptonite. In 3 matchups, the Blazers dropped all 3 decisions.
They're a great team. They did really well all year, and I like it that we didn't. We started off crappy. The boys knew we had to work, and all the way through, I kept telling them there's not a team we've played that we can't beat.
Ethan McDuff, who is the team's captain as well as leading scorer throughout the regular season and playoffs, said the team came together in the end. McDuff added a goal in the second period to give him 5 throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, we knew they were going to come back hard. We just had to keep doing what we were doing, play defense. We didn't need any more goals, and yeah, just keep playing together.
The Blazers will take on Peace River in the finals this weekend. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
And now for another look at your evening weather with our Abby St. John.
Thanks, Judy. Taking a look at our satellite radar, nothing too severe in the works. There is no signs of snowfall here in Lloydminster. A tiny bit of cloud coverage early this evening and then clearing off by overnight tonight. And then we'll have a little bit of cloud coverage tomorrow, but no real signs of snowing throughout tonight or tomorrow morning. Same goes for the Saskatchewan side. Not a whole lot of snow activity, just a tiny bit of cloud coverage, but most of the region should be fairly clear overnight tonight, which is a good sign. -5 currently here in Lloydminster, as well as out in North Battleford and up in Isle of Cross. -8 in Green Lake, -4 in Pierceland, -9 in Meadow Lake, -6 in St. Walburg and Maidstone, and 0 in Macklin. And on the Alberta side, -2 in Provost, -4 in Vermilion and Cold Lake, -6 in Marwayne and St. Paul, -5 in Vegreville and Bonnyville, -1 up in Lac La Biche, and 3 out in Edmonton. Tomorrow, -1 here in Lloydminster, as well as in Marwayne and St. Paul, +1 out in Vegreville, 0 in Wainwright, Vermilion, Bonnyville and Cold Lake, 3 in Provost, 4 in Edmonton, and 2 in Lac La Biche. And on the Saskatchewan side, 0 in Isle of Cross, Maidstone, and North Battleford, 2 in Green Lake, -2 in St. Walburg, 1 in Meadow Lake and Pierceland, and 4 out in Macklin. Overnight across the region, fairly clear skies for the majority of the region. Isle of Cross having just a tiny bit of cloud coverage, but for the most part, fairly clear. -13 in Meadow Lake and Bonnyville, -12 in Isle of Cross, -14 in Pierceland and Provost, -17 in Paradise Hill and Unity, and -15 in Murnum and in Wainwright. Your school day forecast for tomorrow at 8 a.m., -14 will be the temperature with a fairly sunny skies. At recess time, it'll be around -11 with a little bit of cloud coverage making its way through the sky. -7 at around lunchtime with that mix of sun and cloud. And then by the time school is out, it'll be -2 with a fairly cloudy sky with a low of -14. On Wednesday, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of +1 and a low of -4. On Thursday, a fairly cloudy day with a high of -7 and a low of -11. Things start to cool down on Friday rather, with a high of -15 and a low of -21. To start your weekend off on Saturday, a high of -16 and a low of -24 with a 60% chance of snow. On Sunday, a high of -13 and a low of -28. And then things warm back up on Monday with a mix of sun and cloud and a high of -7 and a low of -17. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more news in the question of the day coming up after the break.
Well, we moved our clocks forward last night or into this morning, of course. But here's the question. The government of Alberta is considering eliminating the time change for good completely. What are your thoughts was the question. Well, here's the thing. I think it's not good. I think we shouldn't do it anymore because, especially if you live in Alberta and Saskatchewan, people complaining about the fact that it changes all the time. They wish that it would just be one time and leave it at that.
Yeah, every single one of our comments we're on the same page. We don't like it. We want to get rid of it. Yeah. Even someone commented, does anyone actually like daylight savings times? So yes, everyone is on the same page basically saying, yeah, get rid of it. There's no need for it. It's 1 hour. You're just confusing everyone. I don't think anyone wants to lose an hour of sleep. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't want to lose an hour. So it just doesn't make sense to have it anymore. Yeah. And it's just, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
What does it do?
For something to do, I don't know. But I think the UK is also doing something like that, which is if everybody's going to do it, let's do it anyway. Alberta needs to do it. Saskatchewan, everybody. The whole country I think, needs to do it all at once. And then that way we're not confused because it does confuse people a lot.
Yeah, and especially when there's different time changes in different provinces, like BC is 1 hour behind us.
Yeah.
So then time changes gets kind of confusing if not everyone is following daylight savings time. So the entire country just needs to shut it off.
That's true. And if it's 5 o'clock when I'm waking up, I want to wake up at 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, because that confuses me.
Yes, exactly.
I lose all patience. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, and that is it for this, but let's talk about the pets. Thanks for sending your pet pics for a chance to win a gift card from the Pet Pad.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
In studio today, talking with Eric Bay about the world of sports. And for once, we're going to, I guess, veer it off a little bit more to sickness with the coronavirus really just taking over the entire world, it seems like, and really in the world of sports, it's put a roadblock in a lot of plans for different leagues. Most notably, the World Championship for women's hockey, which was going to be hosted in Nova Scotia at the end of the month, has been announced to be canceled.
Yeah, not the first IIHF event either to be canceled, and we're seeing this all across the board, really. Obviously, you look at Indian Wells, just announced tennis tournament canceled there, and it's had a really big impact. And I guess there's a couple different ways they could go about it. I know obviously the professional leagues, basketball, hockey as well, they've talked about, possibly playing without fans, and these guys have just decided to cancel the tournament, and it's tough either way. Obviously, the fans going, there's potential that something could spread, however low it may be. And then again, you look at the other side, it's a loss of money either way you look at it if you do decide to just play without fans or even not play at all. So it is tough, especially here in the sports world, as we've seen.
For sure, and there's been different athletes who have spoke out about, if in that case, if there aren't fans coming to games. LeBron James said he wouldn't play, just flat out. Bo Horvat added, it would be super sad for the sports world, and I mean, as well for fans, they go for the enjoyment, and to have that taken away from them is just to another level. You mentioned that there was other IIHF tournaments as well that have been postponed. That's 6 under 18 championships throughout the world, mostly held in Eastern Europe. So I guess a little bit understandable with Italy being the second biggest outbreak, but still it's just gone to that other level. And as well, possibly not letting media into the dressing room. That could totally change things, even just from people watching TV at home, their perspective there.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you talk about the fact that they could be, playing without fans, what the players have said. And Jeff Samardzija also spoke up, and he actually played in the game there that they held in Baltimore where they had no fans with the riots. And he even said, too, a game like baseball, it's just no fun. Obviously, the fans add to the experience, the enjoyment. You can feed off that energy, and it's just a whole different process for those fans. So you talk about that, and yeah, the experience as well. So not being able to go to the games is one thing, again, and then you talk to possibly afterwards. Obviously, they'll still have those podium pressers, but again, being able to consume that and being forced to consume it from your home is going to be difficult, even too, depending on how this progresses.
Another team that is also canceling, or at least canceling one of their upcoming games, is Harvard University's men's hockey team. So it's really just taking over all levels of sport, including, you mentioned baseball, but across the pond in the excuse me if I get this wrong, the Nippon Baseball League?
Nippon Professional Baseball, yeah. They have postponed a few of the start of their season anyways, and obviously that's a pretty big league. You could consider that one for sure in baseball anyways, as to be that second tier below the majors. So again, and obviously Japan over there is definitely kind of that area with China right next to it is the heart of the outbreak. So it is understandable, but again, all this, it comes back to, fans can't enjoy it, the players can't play, so owners are losing money, players are losing money, teams are losing money, cities, it's tough all around.
And this Nippon League it's a big league, like you mentioned. It's sort of the minor, or one of the minor leagues for the MLB. Players like Adam Jones, who was not too long ago an absolute stud in the MLB, are playing there. So it's not like these little things are getting pushed to the side. It's these big. The whole season is getting postponed for now, and as we mentioned, the Women's World Championship, that's being totally postponed. Halifax is going to host it next year instead, and it's really just almost mind-boggling, something that we've never seen before. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Zika virus and the Olympics. Well, it seems like this coronavirus is maybe even taking it a step further and putting even more panic within people.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously with the Zika, it was kind of, just in that one bit of area where the Olympics were being held, that was an issue. But here it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they do, or how this, I guess, progresses, and if they can get under control, and just how far that people are going to have to go. Because as we mentioned, all right now it is just talk within the 4 major sports, but we could see very soon the fact that it could be delaying and affecting the product.
For sure, and with the Indian Wells tennis tournament, sort of considered the 5th major of tennis, being shut down, I guess that's, it might almost be what gets the ball rolling with more sports possibly shutting down for a while.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Once again, talking sports with Eric Bay, and this time we're going to kick it off with Southern Alberta. The Bulls were in town, PBR Canada taking part in Lethbridge.
Yeah, obviously another big event, the second stop on the Monster Energy Tour, and as it's been kind of all this season here on PBR Canada, Dakota Butter once again takes it, his second Monster Energy win. Previous win was the last event in Calgary, and he's really just taken this PBR World by storm right here, obviously coming off a tough loss in the PBR Canada Finals in Saskatoon in November. Was looking in the top seed there for the second day, but Dalen Swearengin came from behind, and now it seems like Dakota Butter is really that man on a mission. He's gone 10 for 10 here recently to start off the season in Canada. He's got 3 events, one here in town in Lloydminster, and at this point I really don't think he can be stopped. Obviously he's still looking for that PBR Canada crown, and just the way he's riding, and he's always been kind of a fiery guy, wants to ride well, so I don't think there's any stopping him here, especially with those momentum he's built.
Yeah, you mentioned it. We saw him win here in Lloydminster, and then continuing that success, 10 for 10, as you mentioned. If he can keep this up, what kind of pace? I mean, it's obviously it's 100%, but what kind of pace? It's not sustainable. Thank you. It's not realistic to keep going at that. But if he can do 3/4 of what he's doing now, what would that mean for the end of his season?
I mean, he doesn't even have to do 3/4. He could do half or just under half, right? I mean, if you look at it, 60% of your rides of riding those bulls is a really, really good season. Like the top guys are riding in kind of the mid to high 50s at best. So right now he's 100%, like you said, not sustainable, but the way he is and how he likes to ride, like he could even take a few events off, to say at least, and still be sitting well. He's 100 points above the next leader. So he set himself up real well, and again, it's all about starting well, but it'll be about how he finishes and be able to take home all those points at the finals.
For sure, we'll be able to see if he can continue that success April 4th in Marwayne there. Now, keeping it, I guess, in a sort of rodeo setting, horse doping. Something you don't hear all the time, but in horse racing, 27 horses have been caught with horse doping, almost like the Lance Armstrong of the horse racing world, something we really don't see all the time.
Yeah, so obviously just like baseball, just like cycling you mentioned there, the steroid era maybe has come upon us in horse racing, and again, obviously, it's a different one for me though, just because I guess when you look at it and the fact that it's cycling or even baseball, it's guys putting it into their bodies themselves, they're making that decision. But here, I think the added impact of it is the fact that it's trainers that are making the decision to put these drugs into these horses' system, and the possibility that they do overexert themselves and it comes to dangerous territory is what makes this even, I guess, a little bit more shady for me.
Now, you mentioned decisions. Let's talk about split decisions in UFC 248, where there's a great bout there.
Yeah, Zhang Wei Li there beating Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Nice name to say on a Monday. But yeah, obviously a great fight. Really, I mean, overexceeded, I think, everybody's expectations, just the way those two slugged it out. Over 5 rounds for that split decision you mentioned. And just, you could see that, obviously, everybody saw the pictures online. The wear and tear on those two fighters' bodies was very impressive, especially when the headliner of Adesanya and Yoel Romero didn't really live up to the hype. It was a great fight to see.
For sure, when you see two people just going toe-to-toe for 5 rounds, and obviously that close, it's something, I mean, unbelievable. And to be able to stick in there and stay in that fight, I mean, I wouldn't be able to, so kudos to those two women there. And to transition here, we're talking NHL pucks, something a little different that they're trying to implement for the playoffs here.
Yeah, kind of looking at more of the stat side of things, like what they have been doing with the All-Star game. They're going to have their smart pucks beginning in the playoffs. So they're switching the equipment just in time for the most important part of the season. So that's interesting to see, to say the least. And they say they've tested. Previous versions have broken when shot, so this one has not broke. But again, I think it's just interesting that they'd pick this time here, such a crucial moment when, if something does happen, it's going to be scrutinized for years to come.
And they said that they've thrown them into games like without players, without teams knowing. But then other players have said they can actually feel the difference between these new pucks and the original, solid pucks. So it is interesting that they can notice that difference. And I'm interested to see, if stick handling will change, if, people's shots aren't as accurate, different things like that. Sidney Crosby was one of the people that pointed out he can notice the difference. So, maybe his legendary backhand will change. I guess only time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see for the NHL playoffs.
Taking a look at your 7-day forecast, a high of -1 and a low of -14 for tomorrow, and then a high of +1 on Wednesday, -7 on Thursday, and then things cool off on Friday. The high of -15, -16 on Saturday with a 60% chance of snow, -13 on Sunday, and then a high of -7 back on Monday to wrap up your 7-day forecast.
I don't like the weekend weather, but that's okay because that's what happens. Every weekend it gets cold.
Hopefully it changes as the week progresses,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not looking too good. We're going to have another snowy Saturday, which wasn't super fun to deal with.
No, it wasn't, and we don't have to deal with the time change again because we dealt with it last night. Now we're on this time, which is a good thing.
And I think it just needs to. They just need to get rid of it.
They need to get rid of it.
I think that's the
Done.
solution. Just
Done.
get rid of it.
And that is it for the show. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again tomorrow.